Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. It is Wednesday, December 13th, in the midst of one of the busiest weeks of the college basketball schedule. Oh, wait, no, the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. This is our Under the Radar podcast, joined by a pair of Davids. David Dorman to my side, David Griggs down below me. Sorry, Griggs, you were going to say something.
Oh, just that it's I was going to, but I'm really drunk right now, so I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, then I
He's
better to
taking
explain.
finals.
Yeah, it's finals week.
It's finals week, so
Well,
he's drunk.
which is really stupid. I never understood what academics and finals had to do with basketball. Like, why do we have to stop during finals week?
Well, that's actually could be a real debate, but that's probably for a much longer show
Yeah.
another night. But this is our Under the Radar podcast where we discuss the all the conferences that are not the power conferences and not the regular multi-bid conferences, which we do discuss Monday night in our Hoops HD reports. So it's the Power Five conferences plus the Big East plus the American A10, Mountain West and West Coast. All those conferences covered on Monday night. Also covered on Monday night is any other team from these leagues that happens to be in the top 25 of either of the two major polls. James Madison still sitting there in the polls, so we're not going to discuss them again this week, at least not here. We will discuss the rest of the Sun Belt, though. Did I
We,
cover
we,
that
we may be
correctly?
we may be starting over.
What's the matter?
Chad is back. No, you froze for
You
about 20
froze.
seconds, but you're back.
Oh, I'm back. We've got a little internet problem here. Griggs, take it away for a second. Did I miss anything?
Uh, you were the one talking, so I don't know. Like, if you missed anything, it was your own saying, so probably not.
Okay,
You
it's
were in
the
the
Under the
midst of
Radar podcast.
explain.
If you don't know what Under the Radar means, go back to last week and figure it out. If
Yeah.
there's a bunch of frozen screens, ignore it. If you heard me, great. I don't care. Let's get started. We go through these conferences in alphabetical order, except for our feature conference. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what we're doing yet. We've already screwed the show up once. I'm not restarting because I don't even know what we did so
Well,
far.
we've got all the screw ups out of the way. At least now it's not going to come at a later time. The rest of the show is screw up proof. Law of
Let's go right.
averages.
Let's go right to our feature conference then. And I thought I want to start out at a conference that saw one of the most notable under the radar wins of the entire season so far. At least game between under the radar programs happened on Saturday when. So I want to start things off, Griggs in the WAC, especially
Yeah.
because of Grand Canyon, what they did Saturday when they went to Liberty.
Yeah. One of the bigger stories, not just in the WAC, but in under the radar. We're going to get into the whole rest of the conference here in a second. But how about Grand Canyon? Pull up their profile, 8-1, and they had a fantastic week. They managed to win against San Diego State at home, which was a top 25 showcase home event for them. But probably, I know Liberty isn't as good as San Diego State, but I think where you play a game, I think flying all the way to Virginia and winning on the road against a team that's as good as Liberty and that will win perhaps all of the rest of their home games was as good in a lot of ways and maybe even a little better than the home win against San Diego State. But, the Dons, a pretty good team, beat them on a neutral court. They took care of business. The South Carolina game at the time, you I didn't think much of it. I don't think, at least at the day the game was played, I didn't realize South Carolina was as good as they're turning out to be, and that's their only loss. Um, Rocco is one of our selection committee guessing experts, but Dorman, he does some of the brackets as well, and so do you. To me, this has the makings of a team that can land inside the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at
I
this, look
agree.
at these resume-based metrics. KPI 13th in the nation. Our own
Incredible.
J&G get up there 22nd in the nation. Uh, Dorman, I think this is a good team, and uh, I don't really know that there's. I mean, I'm sure they will lose a few games, but I call them favored the rest of the way and everything left of this schedule when you look at it.
They're going to be favored unless something happens and an injury pops up or they go ice cold. But I agree. I thought they were going to be really thinking how great they were after that great home win against San Diego State, and the atmosphere was absolutely awesome. I give those students an A+ there. But then, like Greg said, go across the country and you're going to play Liberty on the road, a very good team, very good program, and they go in there and win when they could have been, a great spot for a letdown after a huge victory. I'm really impressed with Grand Canyon. I think if you without a major couple screw ups, I'm with Griggs. This is a team that could definitely be inside the bubble if needed.
Yeah, it's really exciting for them if you followed us for a while, and I guess for a long while now. It's hard to believe this was as long as ago as it was. We used to do something called the Team of the People, where we would essentially adopt, usually an under the radar team, but it was somebody with a unique story, and we did it with Grand Canyon when they were a transitional team, and what we thought was unique about them was just how good they were, and we thought they had a chance to be a first place team as a transitional team. But one of the things that we learned from that experience was just kind of how special the culture around their basketball program is. I mean, you can even just seeing it on television. This is an event. This is a team that has a more passionate following than most of the Power Five teams.
Absolutely. They had a nice following at Liberty, actually. If you
Yeah.
saw some crowd shots, they had a decent little student section in Liberty across the country.
Yeah, and it's like they have the student body president crowd surfing during the game. It's just a great atmosphere.
Bryce Drew has done a great job.
He really has, and when you look at the, you look at the rest of this conference here. I mean, there might be one or two other teams we could briefly discuss. Seattle
Uh,
has shown some flashes. Uh, Tarleton's even been so shown some flashes, even though they're ineligible for the postseason. But there's nobody else in here that is what they like in past season when you had really good New Mexico State teams to battle the Lopes. Not
right.
here this year.
Yeah, Abilene Christian's been a little bit disappointing, I think. I thought that they were going to be good, especially after getting a really big early season win. And SFA, another team that has looked good at times, but not consistently. And I'm with you. I think the Lobes might run away from this league.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that you got to go back and find. I have no idea when we did this, but when Chad and I called Mark Emmert, it was great.
Yeah, here is the rest of the upcoming schedule here. I mean, the big games being the Lopes. They've got this Portland neutral site game. Where are they playing? I'm not sure which. There's a lot of events going on Saturday. I'm not sure which part of which event
Yeah.
this is. This might be in Vegas. Not 100 certain. That's certain. And then they're going to be hosting Sam Houston next Wednesday night. Only other game potentially to schedule to circle. I'm sorry, is this Washington Seattle game on Sunday. It is at Climate Pledge Arena, which they both use as home courts at different times during the season. This year it
Yeah.
counts as Seattle's home game, so it's technically a home game for Seattle, but really more probably be a bigger Washington fans than
Yeah.
Seattle.
Now, I think that they play each other there every year, and the home designation, they just take turns with who's managing the event. That really is the only
Yeah.
consideration,
Well,
not
well,
even the
it's
location.
Seattle. Seattle does have three home games at Pledge
Okay,
this year.
yeah,
Which is why it will not count as a neutral court.
yeah.
They're over that limit. If they'd only played one there, it could have actually been a neutral court game. Not that it really matters too much,
It
I don't
doesn't.
think.
It'll probably be more of a pro Washington crowd. Washington have a good year.
Um, let's go back to the beginning here then though. The Dorman over in the America East where uh Vermont, there were our big story last week after what they did in that Yale game that they followed up though on Saturday with a surprising home loss to Colgate, I thought.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying by surprising, Chad, but I really like this Colgate team. These Vermont and Colgate are clearly to me, the best two teams these conferences in their respective conferences for about the last 5, 6 years running. Every year in the America East, I try and find a team that I think can beat Vermont. If I had to find someone this year and get cute, it would be UMass Lowell. But I like what Vermont did. I like what the coach did. It's a very tough out of conference schedule. He gets his team ready for, the March tournament. And when it comes to conference tournament time in the America East, Vermont rises to the top. And I think so again this year.
Yeah, John Becker, the head coach there. Uh, Griggs, we've mentioned the Lowell team a few times on these podcasts already. They did have the win at Georgia Tech earlier this
Yeah.
season, and they're not really they're pretty much done. I mean, I guess at BU a bit of a challenge, but not much challenges left until their games against Vermont, which come January 25th and March 2nd.
Yeah, Lowell's certainly having a good year. They didn't repeat their big win against UMass like they did last year. They did win at Georgia Tech, something what Duke failed to do. But there's another team we have to discuss, Judd.
Yes, it is the Maine Black
Yes,
Bears.
it
Now,
is. Yes.
8-4 on the season on a 4-game winning streak. Now they got three straight non-conference road games coming up, and then they start conference play with their toughest game of them all at Vermont. So tough
Right.
stretch here these next four, but
Yeah, and you
more
kind
for
of,
them.
yeah, and again, you don't want to completely gloss over the out of conference games, but this is a Maine program that's been not just among the worst in the America East, but among the worst in all of D1. Very, very, very much improved this year. Chris, what's his last?
Markwood.
Yep, Chris
Markwood.
Markwood. Thank you. Doing a fantastic job there. And one of the things, the way I love how this conference structures its tournament with it being at home court sites. How much fun would it be to see Maine hosting a quarterfinal and possibly even a semifinal game?
You could maybe
Awesome.
get up to that four seed
Yeah,
and host that 4-5
Yeah.
game at least. Yep.
yeah,
They could win one of those three out of conference games coming.
yeah,
They could go to Minnesota winning the barn.
Yeah, I was like, the
yeah,
FIU. I thought you were talking about the FIU game, but the Minnesota game. I think you're right about
yeah.
that, Dorman. uh, yeah, let's take a quick look at this week's schedule in the America East. We see Vermont with a road test at Va Tech. That's probably a
That,
little bit over their head. And then
yeah,
At Toledo next Wednesday, though, could be an interesting game.
Good game.
it, that's a good game. Yeah, Von Tech a little bit making not getting a lot of attention, but quietly putting together a really good profile. We mentioned them the other night.
Mhm. You've left under the radar, Griggs, though. So
Oh, we have, yeah.
yeah. Uh, um, let's jump over to the A
Oh,
Sun though. Griggs, let me start with you on this one. And there's more blue than red in this week, at least for this conference. This could say
finally.
something for them, but it's still really difficult to find too much good in this league just because it's been a rough non-conference, I think.
It has, and I know that I mean, it is an under the radar league, but some of the teams that I was expecting to show out just haven't, particularly Eastern Kentucky. They've been kind of disappointing. Just one D1 win. Um, Stetson's look good at times, but there's just nobody really jumping out, and that's kind of exciting. I mean, in years past, you had Liberty, Gulf Coast had some pretty good runs. Kennesaw State, I mean, God, they were so much fun last year. The Atlantic Fun, as it likes to brand itself, just isn't this year.
It hasn't been so far. I will say, going back a little over a week now, the Lipscomb Belmont Battle of the Boulevard we had was a great game. Lipscomb did lose that one by 1 point, but I kind of like this Lipscomb team still.
I do too.
They do have a solid win over Chattanooga, a neutral court win over Wofford, maybe
They
over
got
their heads a
Mitchell.
little bit at Arkansas,
Yeah.
just a bit.
Yeah.
A little
At
over the
Fl
head, but I agree with you. They have the best net score in the conference. I think the predictives are higher on them than any other team in the country. Let's see if they can stay in the game against Arkansas. I agree because I think Lipscomb's the best team in the ASUN.
and how about this? December 20th, they're going up against our good friend Brian Black, it looks like. Yeah,
Yeah,
they are playing
Brian
Brian,
Black
Brian. All
wow.
right. Gil,
hosting
shout out to
Lipscomb. Yeah, out in Oregon. So yeah.
Here's the rest of the upcoming schedule for this week. Really, let's circle that Lipscomb Arkansas game. I think that's the one game to really kind of pay attention to here in this week's
Yeah.
schedule. Uh,
Yeah,
Dorman,
Bellarmine, another team that I thought would be better than what they are. God, they're terrible. Anyway, we've moved on.
we've already moved on, Dorman,
Mercifully.
to the Big Sky Conference, where the team we've one of the two teams we were focused on, Portland State. All they played this week was George Fox, so we didn't really see much from them at all. Conference has pretty much been off all week.
Yeah. Uh, I still like the Portland State team. I don't know. Do they have the staying
Okay, yeah.
power, or
Apparently
was
you're
this
now
just sort of
dormant, so
oh,
That's
I
okay.
thought
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just hijacked Dorman.
Go ahead.
That's
Well,
okay.
like,
He gets the next
yeah,
two conferences.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
yeah. Are they going to have the staying power here to stay a front runner, or was this just a team that played way over their heads for a few weeks early on, really surprised us, and then it's just going to fade back behind Weber State, who's going to run away with it?
I
Um,
kind of think these next two games are pretty interesting at San Diego, at
yeah,
Fresno State, winnable but tough games. Uh,
yeah, they really are.
so-
But God, they play well. The one loss to Wazoo, no shame in that. The losing to the Tommies was kind of a surprise. But then you got Weber State over there, who I still think, even though like they do have some head scratching losses, the loss to Gardner Webb is just really surprising. This is still just a team with more pieces and certainly the best player in the league.
That's what I was going to say. When you have the best player in the league, especially in a tournament, he gets hot. He could carry Weber State right through the whole tournament. But I think these two are the best two teams in the Big Sky. I think it'll come down to Portland State and Weber State.
Yeah, Weber State with Dylan Jones averaging a double on the season.
Stud.
Yeah,
Stud.
absolutely incredible player. Upcoming schedule here in the Big Sky, we've got Weber State's at Nevada.
That's a good game.
That's later on tonight. That's going to be
it's tonight.
It's starting about 40 minutes from right now as we're recording this. I guess that's the score you all know about it. And huge game coming up, Griggs, on Friday night.
Huge.
It is Northern Colorado. It is classic Front Range action.
Front Range back in action. Wow, yeah.
We'll be getting to the Front Range a little later in the show. We'll be back talking about this teams. Dorman, now you get a conference here. How about the Big South?
All right, let's discuss the Big South. The Lancers Longwood out to a very solid start. Their net score is the best in the conference so far. High Point seems to be coming on. I keep watching Radford, and I keep thinking they're going to be good, and then they take a step back, and then they look good. So I'm between Longwood, High Point, and Radford at this point. But if Winthrop came up and starts doing some stuff in the Big South Conference, it wouldn't surprise me. Winthrop has some players that have at least the talent as good as anyone, I think, in the Big South. So watch out for Winthrop if they can come on. The best team to date, though, so far, in my opinion, is the Lancers.
Really? Yeah, they are, but I said my problem with them is, they have done a great job winning the MEAC because they played Delaware State home and home already. They played at Morgan State, at Eastern Shore, home against NC Central. Oh, no, by the way, they got a road game at NC Central still to come. That is... the MEAC generally probably 31st or 32nd of all the conferences too. So
when you look
they
at
haven't played anybody. That's my problem with Longwood.
When you look at High Point, I think the win against Western Carolina, even though it was at home, it was really impressive. But you look at their losses: Hofstra in overtime, Queens, while transitional, it's not easy to go there and win. I know, Appy State did it tonight, but I just think that High Point, while their profile doesn't show it just yet, has looked really good.
I agree with you. Real interesting test coming this weekend at Georgia for High Point.
Yeah.
Again,
and then Greensboro.
Yeah.
And Greensboro, they get that Greensboro.
Greensboro's good.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Rest of the upcoming schedule for this week in the Big South. As we record this, I guess there's a couple of these games going on here. UNC Asheville is getting blown out by Auburn. What's Longwood doing in that Milwaukee game? Actually, they're up 16 at Milwaukee right now.
That's a good win.
That might be their best win of the season if they pick it up.
It would be.
Yeah.
Winthrop at Xavier on Saturday. Xavier has not been looking very good in the games like this. So
they haven't. Yeah, they've lost is it 2 or 3 bye games? If Stalika was here, I'd ask him.
They lost Buffalo and they lost
Oakland.
Oakland, yeah.
Yeah, Delaware. Did they lose to Buffalo?
No. Sorry, it was Delaware, not Buffalo. Delaware.
Okay.
Delaware.
Yeah.
I was going to say that is really bad.
Yeah, we mentioned that Greensboro High Point game there also to circle. Let's jump over here. Dorman, I'm going to stick with you because Griggs stole your last conference. Over in the Big West Conference, where Hawaii may have the best record, but a team with 4 losses overall may be the best team.
Yeah, the 4 losses I believe you're talking about is the UC Irvine, the Anteaters you're referring to. They played a rough schedule. They went to San Diego. There you go. At San Diego State, at Utah State. Duquesne, who I don't think is that bad. But they did go to USC and win, and Toledo came to them and win. So I agree with you, Chad. I think Irvine is probably the best team in the Big West. Hawaii's going to get tested, though. They're hosting that Diamond Head Classic like usual over the Christmas holiday, and they're going to get a chance against some big-time opponents. They start off with Portland, but then they'll get Georgia Tech or UMass either way, win or lose. So we're going to see what Hawaii is all about once they start to play some better competition here. To me, those are the best 2 teams in the conference.
Right.
Yeah,
And
this Eaters team.
Well, first of all, throw in there for Hawaii also a home game against Nevada, who they could then
Yeah.
play again in the Diamond Head, right
Right.
before the Diamond Head. Yep.
This
Greg.
Eaters team, I was just going to say that while the win against USC is good and none of their losses minus San Jose State are really bad, even if they don't get inside the bubble, I think they've shown that they're good enough to where they can play with NCAA tournament caliber teams. They went to San Diego State and lost by a point, and they were down by 16 and basically dominated the second half. This was a game they sort of blew. It wasn't that they were intimidated or just were swinging over their heads. They kind of blew it. And Utah State, while it was a 10-point margin, that was a close game, and it's not easy to win there either. So this is a team that's shown they can play well against good teams on the road. And they did win at USC.
One more
Yeah.
real good non-conference road test also at New Mexico at the Pit on December 20th for this
Yeah.
team. So circle that one.
That one they could really use.
And here's the rest of the upcoming schedule for this week. Here we'll see Irvine there. They are hosting South Dakota and at New Mexico. Those will be their 2 games for this week.
Yeah.
Fullerton going to Boise on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. All right, Griggs, let me swing back over to you for the Coastal Athletic Association, the CAA. Hofstra, we'd been talking them up. I know they lost to Duke, but
They got
I think they
kind of bad.
looked ahead to that Duke game too when they lost that St. Louis game. I thought that they had a shot to win that one.
Well, yeah. Not only did I think they had a shot, I thought they were the better team before the game started. So kind of a disappointing week for Hofstra. College of Charleston starting to rebound a little bit. Delaware with the win against Xavier, like we said, and UNC Wilmington, the big win still against Kentucky. This is a conference that's got multiple teams that are starting to get scalps, and this Wilmington team is good. They're real experienced. They're older, and they're the team that I kind of like the most out of this league. But one of the noticeable differences between this year and last year is that the anchor at the bottom, while it's still there, Bill and Mary not any good, Hampton really struggling, A&T awful. It still isn't as bad to where I don't think you're going to see a team win 30 games and not be inside the bubble this year.
Yeah, I think it is. When you look here, you've got multiple sub 300 teams here. Actually, a lot of sub 250 teams. And even with the scalps they've picked up, Griggs, we're not showing early good net ratings here. There's nothing here that would be with even Hofstra arguably a little close to the bubble, but not really in the bubble picture. If you were doing a bracket right now based on net rankings,
Right? Yeah.
or any of these rankings here, any of the predictives or resume based rankings.
Yeah. If you pull up Wilmington, I mean, we'll get them here in a second. Like they got the win at Kentucky, and I thought the win at Asheville because Asheville probably the best team in the Big South. They went there and won handily. I think what's dragging down their
East Carolina.
It's their schedule. Gulf Coast, and then that awful loss at East Carolina.
Let's see. They have one more big non-conference test at Arkansas coming up on December 30th. So
yeah.
Plus, they got to win they got 2 road games before then also. So not exactly easy, but I'm not seeing a multi-bid conference here. I'm really not.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'd like to see
with
one.
you.
I just don't.
I'm a big fan of the conference too, but this is a 1-bid conference at this point.
Rest of the non-conference schedule there, you can see Hofstra's going to be hosting Norfolk State, trying to get back on the winning way. Don't know if there's anything else that I'm really circling on this upcoming schedule. So let's just jump right over here, Dorman, to Conference USA. We already talked about Liberty with their home loss to the Lopes, but at the same time, Louisiana Tech put a hurting on the rest of the state of Louisiana this week.
They're the state champs. La Tech looks good. Off to a great start, 9-2. The losses at Colorado State, at New Mexico are not going to really kill them. They have some games coming up that they really could use at St. Louis, at Seattle, before they go to the Lopes. a very impressive start, but not much. McNeese did, I guess, at Stephen F. Austin. They really could use some of these road games here to prove that they are top of the conference material. I do think they are, and I also like this Western Kentucky team. I think they're coming on strong. They're really well coached, tough, hard-nosed defense. They play good ball. Watch out for Western Kentucky.
Yeah,
When
Griggs,
you look at that,
there's Liberty on the right, and I put Western Kentucky over here on the left.
Yeah.
yeah, the one point I was going to make is 5 of their next 6 games are on the road, and those are tough road games. If La Tech is for real, we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky, nice win at Wright State. They've got kind of a nice record, but I mean they've bloated it out against non-D1s as well, and then they got the 1 win at Buffalo. I'm not entirely sold on them yet as far as being as good as La Tech, but or Liberty, but I will say this, I guess they're winning the games they're supposed to be winning.
Yeah, Liberty's got, other than their Alabama game on December 30th, a fairly easy schedule here for the rest of non-conference play also. But so they've got to pick up a few more wins. They win that Alabama game. We could put them back in the bubble consideration. But
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But given that they went 0-2 in that event with FAU and College of Charleston and followed up with the home loss to the Lopes, I think they've kind of fallen off that picture.
I think so too. Yeah, they needed
Rough
some.
10 days.
Here's the rest of the upcoming schedule, including the huge game Friday night, New Mexico State round 2 of their games. But let's just keep things rolling right along here. What we got? How about some Horizon League action, Griggs?
Woohoo, the Horizon League, and the story here is Purdue Fort Wayne. The Mastodons. The one thing when you look at that profile, they do have the win at Oakland, but it's a lot of sub 250. I think
they went
that's
at DePaul. That's a power conference school.
it's a lot of sub
Yeah.
250.
I tried, Mastodon fans. I tried.
Yeah. But they are winning, and their only loss at San Francisco isn't that bad. A fascinating game is this one that's coming up against Pittsburgh. I don't think they're going to have any trouble at all with Cookman later in the week. It's another sub 250, but is this team for real, or are they just good at beating sub 250 teams? I know Rocco's big on them. I will certainly admit they're much, much better than I thought they were going to be coming into the year. I think they can win the league. It's just, how good are they really?
It's a league that's been down for a couple of years also.
Yeah, it
so
has.
nice to see a team with a good metrics actually win this league.
Yeah.
Dorman, go ahead.
And
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten over it. You two, you know how much I loved it. How about Penguin Fever?
Yeah.
The other team with a
Yeah.
winning record and with a winning D1 record, Penguin Fever lives.
I was high on Wright
Oakland has
State
a winning
coming.
D record too, but go ahead, Dorman.
Yeah.
That's true. I liked Wright State coming in, very disappointed in what they've been able to do. But to go back to Fort Wayne a sec, I always love programs that they've stuck with coaches when things haven't been always great. This coach has been there for 10 years. There were definitely chances and opportunities where the school could have said goodbye. They stuck with them, and I like to see that. They're getting rewarded this year with a really strong performance so far. I hope they stick to it. Like you said, some of the nets are not bad. This is a one bid conference, but Fort Wayne off to a great start.
Here's the rest of the upcoming schedule. A couple other games to circle. Oakland at Michigan State could be an interesting one. And then Oakland is at Dayton next Wednesday. And keep a potential eye on this Green Bay Oklahoma game. I think Green Bay is way over their head, but Green Bay's had a little more life this year than they've had in the past. I
Not
wouldn't be
that
surprised.
much more.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the game for a half. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Catch Oklahoma sleeping.
Catch them sleeping, exactly. Dorman, over in the Ivy League, Princeton does suffer its first loss of the year at St. Joe's, but this Princeton team is still damn good.
Really good. The computers love them. When I watch them play, I love them. Losing at St. Joe's, nothing wrong with that. St. Joe's has a solid team this year. I love the way Cornell plays that fast pace up and down the court, but I really think Princeton is the premier team in this league, and it's going to come down to a Final Four. The 4 teams will go to the Ivy League tournament. I think Princeton will be heavily favored. I love this Tiger team. I love the way they pass the ball and work the ball around.
Yeah, and I want to follow up on something Dorman said about no shame at St. Joe's. If you watched that game, and a lot of the times I'm watching a lot of games, so you're getting a little bit of a lot of stuff. This was one that you couldn't take your eyes off of. And I don't think any sane person would have watched that game, even though Princeton lost, and thought, oh man, what a disappointing showing that was. That was an outstanding, under the radar or no college basketball game.
Briggs, could they be better than last year?
Princeton,
Yeah.
I mean,
Crazy.
Princeton wasn't. I mean, they had a great. They picked a good time to get good, but when you look at this league, you know the top four go. Is it? Are we expecting it to be Princeton, Cornell, Harvard, and Yale, or is Penn?
I think Penn is there. I think it's going to be an interesting battle
like
because
Yale.
of that. Because I like it, but I think there are five. It could be six teams even
Yeah.
with Harvard. They've had some life this season also.
Well, I said Harvard. Yeah, I said Princeton, Cornell,
Cornell,
Harvard,
Harvard, Yale. Okay, sorry, and Penn is a fifth. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I think there is at least a five-team battle here, unless Columbia could do something. And Columbia is hosting this year, so. Um, Griggs, if you ever had a week that you wanted to say you watched every single team, every single game involving a conference on one week, this is the week in the Ivy League.
Yeah.
Over the course of the next 7 days, there will be exactly 3 games played involving Ivy League teams. Dartmouth at Lemoyne, Thomas of Maine at Dartmouth, Cornell at Siena. For the first time ever, I announced an entire conference schedule for the week. How's that?
Must be finals week.
Dartmouth must have taken finals early.
Jeez. How about the Metro Atlantic Conference, Griggs?
Oh boy, how about it? Well, Marist is the team that's kind of showing out the most, but Quinnipiac, this isn't the first time they've made a lot of noise and rattled sabers in November and December, and then kind of came back to earth. I kind of think that their record is a product of a very, very weak schedule. The one team that surprised me sort of in the inverse is Iona. I thought they'd be better than what they've been so far.
Yeah, they've been a little disappointing. Marist has been the surprisingly good team.
Yeah, they have been.
Road win at Dartmouth, for example, this past week. The conference's only road. No, sorry, Fairfield picked up a road win as well.
Yeah, and Marist not traditionally at the top of this league, so it's kind of fun to see them, as the front runner.
Yeah,
I kind of like
doing a real nice
Canisius.
job there.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. Keep an eye on Canisius. I think they're better than they were.
Yeah, I agree with that. Canisius is a team to keep an eye on.
Here's the rest of the upcoming schedule. Marist will be hosting Eastern Shore.
Iona at St. Joe's.
Iona St. Joe's actually circled that. That's part of one of these many events that's going on Saturday. Like I said, there's a lot of them going on. So I honestly am not certain which one this is a part of. A lot of quadruple header events actually on this coming weekend. Dorman, Mid-American Conference, where I guess by the standings it's Ball State, by the net it's Toledo, but I mean we're starting to see, while I don't think that this conference is playing up to the level we thought it would play at overall, I think we're seeing that this conference is going to be set up for a fascinating conference season.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's breaking out. I thought Toledo was probably the best in the conference, but I'm not so sure anymore. I look at them and they're good and they're bad, but I agree with you, Chad. This is going to be tight the whole way through. I think there's 6-7 teams that really could make a run towards the top of this Mid-American Conference, and it's going to be tight the whole way because I don't think anyone's any better than the rest. There's a few at the bottom that'll be down there. Central Michigan, Buffalo, really not great, but the rest of them can make some moves.
Yeah, back in October, Chad, when we did our preseason under the radar show, had you said, I'm going to place the total number of wins for the directional Michigan schools combined at 9, I would have taken the under. They've already won 9 games.
They've already won 10 games.
Eastern Michigan is a lot better than expected.
I'll tell you what.
Look at that! Look at that net! Look at those! Look at that net!
Look! Yeah, the metrics do not like these teams, and that includes Western Michigan having picked up that huge win. Did they not? Or was it Central Michigan that picked
Western
up
Michigan hasn't picked up any. Yeah,
I'm sorry. It was Central Michigan picked up that huge win, that win at South Florida, which we thought was a good win at the time, may not really have been.
Yeah. But I still like the Zips. They haven't shown out yet. I think that when they get into the Christmas break, and that's another thing that's going on, is essentially like whereas football and your fall sports have camps before the season, basketball has its camp over Christmas. That's when the 20-hour week limits go away and you can practice in 20 hours a day if you want. I just think Akron has the best pieces. I still like them the most. Largely, and the other part, I don't want to admit that I was wrong back in October.
You do see up here where Mac 7 Sunbelt 5 right up there. This is a 24 game challenge series this year. There were 12 games played at Mac schools already, and they only went 7-5 in their home games. I think I do better than that because in February there will be 12 there'll be 12 games at Sunbelt schools coming up. So while we're going to see that up there for a while, that's actually a Sunbelt victory, even though it's 7-5 Mac. In my opinion.
Yeah, once you get, but if it turns out like if Akron goes to either App State or JMU, that's a hell of a game.
Yes. Here's the rest of the upcoming schedule with great opponents such as Miami, Hamilton, Calumet College, Defiance, Davenport. It is final twins, folks.
Oh God.
Toledo, Vermont at Toledo next Wednesday.
Yes, Vermont at Toledo next Wednesday night. Circle that game absolutely. Over in the MEAC, Dorman, it's a conference that really there's never that much to talk about this early in the season. Howard had shown some life, although they actually had a disappointing week this week with a 10-point loss at Penn.
To me, Norfolk State at the top has looked the strongest. I was hoping Howard would come back again this year and look good, but they've struggled out of the gate here. Norfolk State, to me, looks like the strongest team. UNC Central's had chances, not come up big. I could say that for the whole conference. The metrics aren't good here. It's a one big conference. To me, if I had to pick one now, it's Norfolk State, but wide open.
I'll throw a quick quote out here from our colleague John Titel regarding Howard and Seth Towns, who is playing for them and has been playing college basketball for a long time. In fact, he only scored double digits 5 times in 2021, did not play in 2022 or 2023, missed the first 3 games of this year, but now is a 7-game streak of double digits, led his team with 11 points today in their win over Regent. And he was born 9 days after Lonzo Ball, who has been playing in the NBA for 6.5 years. So there's Seth Towns for you, for Howard leading the way. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Last time I saw him play, he had a huge brace on that leg there, but we'd love to see him stay healthy. They are part of the HBCU Challenge Series out in Vegas this weekend, actually, where they're going to be playing Jackson State and Texas Southern as part of that event out there in the I think it's in Vegas.
And I like this because it is in Vegas, Chad. I agree with you because you always see the power schools and they get to go on these cool trips to Maui and Vegas and Florida. I like to see these schools get their opportunity and all get a chance in Vegas and have their day in the sun. I think it's really cool.
And they're going to stay out west and go to Santa Barbara next Wednesday also. So good for Howard.
Good week.
Nice little treat. Let's jump over to the Valley. Who's up? Either one of you. Take it away. Missouri Valley.
I'm beginning to think, Riggs and Chad, this could be a 2-bid Valley. I always am pumping the Valley. I love Missouri Valley basketball, but I'm really impressed with Indiana State. Really strong. I know the numbers are great, but if you watch this team play basketball, you come away thinking, yeah, this is a good basketball team. Really well coached. Josh Schertz has done an incredible job. They got some shooters. They got some big kids down low. I don't know if they're as good as Drake because I think Drake is really awesome, and I don't even think they've gotten as good as they can be. So, Griggs, Chad, I'm wondering, I really think, can the Valley get 2 in?
I like it. Well, you look at these are profiles right now that say multiple bids at this point in the season. Drake, not really much in terms of chances left. Indiana State has this Ball State game. I believe that's being played in Indianapolis as part of one of these events this weekend. And that road test at Michigan State circled out on the 30th. That may be the key to really having a 2-bid the Valley looking like 2 bids heading into conference play. But I'm going to stress heading into conference play also because this is not an easy conference to dominate in, to go
It
through
isn't.
and to have these two teams pull away from everybody else. Look at what just happened tonight, right as we started this show. Murray State was tied with Mississippi State with 20 seconds left. Mississippi State found a way to win that game tonight. But that's Murray State, who is not even a team we've really discussed seriously. They're 2-6 on the season. Almost went to Mississippi State and won. There's a lot. There's a lot of good teams here, Griggs. Even
Yeah,
though
there
they're not
really are.
NCAA tournament caliber teams, other than Drake and Indiana State.
Yeah. No, there are really good. Evansville having a much better year than expected. Southern Illinois can be tough. All of them can be. Bradley, I mean, we didn't really
Yes.
discuss them. They were phenomenal out of conference, and they lost their first two conference games. They're
Yep.
still dangerous. I mean, let's not forget them. So, in some ways, is the committee tuned into that, and are they going to take that into consideration when evaluating teams? How hard it is to win in this league and go on the road and win in this league? Like any road game is a road test.
It really is. There's that Bradley profile. It's still not a bad profile by
No,
any
it's not
means.
bad.
The losses
No.
were at Murray State and Indiana State, but they are 0-2, so you almost half forget about them. But you look, their KPI is 33 in the nation. That's inside the
It-
bubble,
yeah, it
according
is
to Kevin. Yeah.
right. And Kevin knows. Maybe not quite as much as Joby, but where does Joby
Mhm.
have?
Joby has him at 88. He does not
Ah,
have him
okay.
inside the 50.
Ah, Shelby.
Uh, uh, Here is the rest of the upcoming schedule. I mean, there are some interesting games coming up this week. Here, some good road tests, among other things
Bradley
here. So,
Duquesne Monday.
Monday,
Yeah.
Bradley Duquesne. Yeah, that's definitely one worth watching here. Uh, but let's keep things rolling right along here, Griggs. In the Northeast Conference, a conference that we love when we get to conference play, and we are not there yet. And as a result, we saw one D1 win by the conference over the past 7 days.
Yeah, over the past 7 and how about it? Fairleigh Dickinson going into Manhattan and getting the win on the road.
Yeah.
Last year, this entire league was outside the top 300 of the net. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen a weaker league, and this year we've got two inside the top 200 or top 300.
So
Yeah,
Yeah, I like Merrimack.
Merrimack with a nice 186. They're propping the
Yeah.
conference up, or we could be all sub 300 again by the end of the year. We
Yeah.
might be anyhow.
And they should have beaten Georgetown.
Yeah.
Upcoming schedule for the week, and we do have a game worth circling here. Stonehill on Sunday will be welcoming Hartford temporarily back into the D1 arena. So
Yeah.
congrats to Hartford coming up from the D3 levels to at least play one D1 game this season.
Yeah. Their poor fans.
Oh.
They have submarined that place.
Merrimack at Cincinnati on Tuesday night. I don't think it's going to happen, but
I don't think so either.
shock
Yeah.
me. It wouldn't completely shock me because I don't think the Cincinnati team is really that good. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I
Oh.
I know you all, in under the radar note, if you're not watching what's happening up in Evanston, you got to turn that game on.
Well, we will be. Well, first of all, Griggs, for anybody who's watching this podcast, you just told
They've
them
already
to
know,
turn on
yeah.
a game
They
that
know
ended
the
several
story.
hours ago. We'll be talking about. We might be talking about that in a few minutes here when we get to towards the end here. But
Right
but
after they got ranked.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Dorman over in the Ohio Valley Conference, where there's this conference also only has one team in the top 200 of the net. That's Morehead State, who I think they did pick up they picked up the win at North Alabama this weekend. That's right.
Teams come into the Ohio Valley. They've gone out of the Ohio Valley. A lot of movement recent. The one thing that stays the same is Morehead State keeps winning games. And watching a bunch of these teams so far, Morehead State is the best team in this conference. They win the games they should. And I think this is going to stay through conference play. I think they have the best coach in the conference. And I'm not really that impressed. And you can see with the numbers, any other school. We thought maybe Grace Suey Edwardsville was going to have a good year.
That's why I
Off
like
to a
coming
rough,
in. Yeah.
off to a rough start, but they could turn it around. But I like Morehead.
And we spent last week pumping up this Little Rock team who promptly went 0-2
Yeah.
with losses to Central Arkansas and a decent Winthrop team, but they lost it at home and they got blown out of their own building. So not a good week for this Little Rock team.
No.
They did bounce back tonight after the win over San Antonio, UT San Antonio.
Yeah. This conference struggling to get D1 wins, although you know, Little Rock's got there's a few teams that are putting them together. So does this league get inside the first four
The
or
bubble?
above?
No, it does not get inside the bubble.
Does it get above the 16 line, or is it because this used to be before, like, in David alluded to
Before
this.
Murray State and Belmont left? Yes,
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean-
a good league.
13, 14 seeds left
Yeah.
and right.
I think you're on the 16 line, and it's just a question if we go to Dayton or you not go to Dayton.
Mhm.
Upcoming schedule, and how about this? Morehead State is hosting St. Mary's tomorrow night. Oh,
St. Mary, the Gales
of the
come-
Woods. The St.
Oh,
Mary's of
wow.
the Woods.
Where is St. Mary's of the Woods? What woods?
In the woods,
I
obviously.
presumably. I don't think they've
The
had
woods.
basketball for very long. Just to, you know.
Then
In the
Morehead
woods.
Tuesday night. Morehead going to Indiana. Little over their head.
Probably so, but you know, Indiana has had a tendency to sweat out games against bad teams this year, so might be worth turning into.
Griggs, over the Patriot League, we mentioned this Colgate team. They had that nice road win at Vermont.
they did.
And it's time, maybe it's time to really start believing in them again.
I never quit believing them in
Okay.
relation to the rest of this league, but I still think it's Colgate and company, and can anybody even keep pace with them? I don't think anybody's as good as they are, but is anybody better than the rest of the league to where it'll sort of be like those years teams were chasing Harvard in the Ivy League, which they were keeping pace, but they weren't as good.
I don't see it. I really
don't see it
I
either,
don't
yeah.
see anything else in here. I look at one of the best historic rivalries in this league is Lehigh and Lafayette.
Yeah.
You have zero combined D1 wins between the two
Yeah.
teams right now.
That's incredible.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
It's just, this is
this is a rough
if
league.
Colgate goes undefeated in this league and wins the conference tournament, which I believe they actually can.
Yeah, they can.
You could see a 14 line type of team here, I think,
Yeah.
just because of how great of an overall record they're going to have.
Yeah, and Colgate's good. I mean, they're 5-4, but I mean, in some of their games, they either blew it or they against Syracuse. I want to say they blew like a 15-point lead.
Yeah, they had that Syracuse game, was disappointing they lost it again, and that's a real nice win though for that win at Vermont.
Yeah,
They go to Illinois on Sunday.
yeah, that's way out of their. I
Yeah.
mean, they're swinging way over their head in that one, but they're. I think. Yeah, I think they can run the table. They can do the double. They can. What is that? They can go 21-0, including the conference tournament.
Yeah. I would any loss they suffered in this conference will be a shock to me, honestly. Dorman, over in the SoCon, where
Greensboro.
how about this Greensboro team? The overtime win over Eastern Kentucky. They followed up with a home win over Elon, but 8-1 overall now, and with Western Carolina having suffered a couple losses, looking like the force in this league.
Yeah, they really do. They look really, really strong. The loss to Vandy is a little an outlier, but interesting week here. They're going to go to Marshall. That's a game I could see them winning. I really do. They got a chance, and this resume is starting to look really, really strong. Mike Jones has been at Greensboro forever. Really strong coach. I like the team he's put together this year. They're going to Texas at the end of the month. Good test for them. See what they might be able to do against strong, big teams in the tournament. But I'm with you guys. Greensboro's looking really good.
And I don't if they can win. Griggs, they lose a Texas game. They win these other 3 non-conference games. They only lose maybe twice in conference play. They have the win at Arkansas. Is there a bubble argument here?
I think so. I definitely think so because, like, when you're talking about winning on the road in this league, a team we haven't mentioned is Samford, but I think there's going to be teams that put together really strong. And again, is Samford, I don't want to overstate it. That's not a tier 1 win, but if they go there and win, I think it's a game that they'd get credit for doing. And this is, especially in the top half of it, a strong enough league to where if they do that, now they can't do any less than that. But yeah, I think there is room for Greensboro with the win against Delaware with the win at Arkansas, which I think will grow in value to be inside the bubble.
Yeah, I suspect by the end of the day that Arkansas win will probably be a tier one win. The win at
Yeah.
Sanford's 138 net. That's just barely below the tier two, tier three cutoff line. That could be a
Mhm.
tier two win even though, you think Sanford, but that
Yeah.
that's that
Hey,
that
they were my preseason pick.
At Western Carolina could be a good win.
yes, yes.
Yeah, Western Carolina is another one that's been surprisingly good.
Here's the
Chattanooga going to win a lot of games at home this year. The Citadel will not win a lot of games this year.
yeah. Well, Citadel's got a chance Tuesday night. They're going to Notre Dame.
They do have a chance to win that one. Yes, they do. I'm all in.
There's our SoCon game of the week this week. It is the Citadel at Notre Dame Tuesday
Yeah.
night. Everybody tune in. The rest of the upcoming schedule is there on the screen as well. Let us jump over, Dorman, over to the Southland Conference and this McNeese State team who now has their head coach back. Billy the Kid is back in action.
Yes.
Willie the
Yes,
Kid, I
he
guess.
is.
Willie the
Yeah.
Kid.
Yeah, Willie the Kid is back, and so is McNeese's offense. They're playing really well. Their computer numbers are crazy. Their net is like 40 or 41 or something recently, I saw. They play Louisiana, and then they're going to Michigan. So a big week to see if this team is really for real. But I think they'll be, from what I see, they're top of the Southland at worst, and probably the premier team in the conference this year.
I'll tell you what, though, Griggs, from what you have to play in Southland play here, if this team wants to even think about the word bubble, they have to literally not lose again until the conference tournament final, in my opinion, including the win at Michigan.
Yeah, it's a tall order, and you're right. And we've seen good teams, Sam Houston and SFA, when they used to play in this league, had similar issues to what McNeese is going through now. And Rocco can speak to this much better than I can, and he has spoken to it. They can't get a schedule together. Like they're calling everybody. They've basically said, I want to say that SFA ran an ad one year saying we'll go anywhere for nothing. Like we'll pay our own way there, and they still couldn't get a game. Nobody wants to play them. And the situation they're in is, they basically have no strikes.
But they will be hosting the conference tournament. They'll get a bye into the semifinal, assuming they win the conference regular season title.
It's a safe assumption.
Really, they just win those two games, and that's
two games at home.
Yeah.
Win two games at home in sometime in the last week of championship week. Because otherwise, I'm going to say at best they're a bubble team if they win every single game until that conference tournament final.
The reason for that is, a Michigan game aside, that's tier 4, all of it.
Yep. Every single game there should be a tier 4 game.
It's the equivalency of a bye game. That's all they got left.
One or two of the road games might sneak into tier 3, but they'll be barely sneaking into tier 3.
Yeah.
McNeese hosting Louisiana is their game this weekend. Just don't overlook that. Do not overlook it.
They need it.
Griggs, how about the SWAC?
How about it? I still like Southern. As far as it's kind of hard to tell where it is. Because they play so many road bye games, and you just can't get a good gauge. I still like Southern. They had the big win at Mississippi State.
I'm going to throw another score here that just went final on the score at the end there. It was a close game in the middle of the second half here between LSU and Alabama State, but Alabama State forgot to play the last 10 minutes of the game. LSU ended up winning 74-56 tonight.
And Texas Southern on their normal conference winning pace, starting off 0-7. That's what they do.
Yep.
Pretty much no D1 wins, and they're probably still going to be the favorite to win the conference tournament at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Other upcoming games here in this league.
Southern's going to Tulane on Saturday.
Yeah. That might be at least interesting.
Yeah.
The two games there: Texas Southern, North Carolina A&T, Jackson State, North Carolina A&T, and also those two teams also playing Howard. That is the HBCU doubleheader that we talked about earlier in Vegas. USC and Alabama State. That is circle that one on Tuesday. That's
part
one
of the
Pac-12.
Pac-12. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be the last one we have here of those.
Right.
The
Yeah. Well, the
Pac-12.
SWAC will still be here, and the Pac-12 won't be. So go figure
Yeah.
that
Dorman, Summit League time,
one
and
out.
another conference has been pretty disappointing in the non-conference play.
Yeah, very disappointing because I thought there were some teams that were going to actually be real strong this year. Uh, right now, I think the Bison and North Dakota are the best team, but it's clearly up for debate. South Dakota really surprised me better than I thought. North Dakota State has played a tough schedule, but 7-4. Denver's not awful. UMKC, I thought would have a better start to the season. Not good at all. Oral Roberts, who we always know to be at the top of this conference, they're at the bottom. The Summit's all messed up this year. Nothing like we usually know. If I had to pick one, I like North Dakota right now, but a lot more to come from the Summit.
Yeah, I would think at the end of the day, Griggs, South Dakota State may still be the team that I think the
I think
computers
so.
like them the best, despite
They,
only 3-5 against D1.
I certainly liked them coming into the
Yeah.
year. I have not liked them since the year started, but it's one of those teams that are they the ones that are going to kick it in the gear and end up winning 19, 20 games, and then you sort of forget that they were ever 3-5.
That may be.
Yeah.
They have an off week this week with just a non D1 game. As we record this, by the way, BYU is pounding Denver. They are up by 20 points at half. So you might like Denver a little bit, but not enough to really compete with a team like BYU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to talk about in terms of the upcoming schedule. Oral Roberts at Oklahoma State on Sunday. I mean, I don't know.
And Oral Roberts, a team that's been so good these
Maybe
last 3 or 4
maybe
years,
Wednesday
not
next.
good at all this year.
Maybe look at next Wednesday, the South Dakota State Wyoming game. That game could be competitive actually next Wednesday
Yeah.
night. Uh, Dorman over in the Sun Belt,
Woo-hoo!
not really paying attention to James Madison because we discussed the Monday night, but I think
App
it
State.
is worth discussing this
Yes.
second place team here because, as we all know, well,
Here we go.
The Mountaineers.
where's Stalico when we need him?
Oh.
Go ahead, Dorman.
Oh, John
the
Stalica
Mountaineers-
found that. I don't know where or how, but he did, like,
They beat
Oh.
Auburn. That's going to be their best win of the season. But if they're going to, keep this going and challenge James Madison, it should be interesting. They got a solid team. I don't think they're anywhere near James Madison, but then again, I didn't think they could play with Auburn. So we'll see. They got 2 shots at James Madison this year, and to me, those are the best 2 teams in the conference, hands down.
I'll tell you, I do disagree with you on one thing. I think at the end of the day, this team is better than JMU. I know we're not supposed to be discussing
Really?
JMU, but JMU's been playing with fire. They are undefeated. Their signature win doesn't hold as much merit as it did when it happened with their win at Michigan State. I like the home win over Auburn. I think a little better than a road win at Michigan State
well, how
right
about
now.
the win over Wilmington?
Sure.
They
I mean,
beat
they
Wilmington.
blew them out. That's a Wilmington team that, like, went and beat Kentucky.
Meanwhile, JMU struggled against a team like Radford at home. You look at the rest of their non-conference schedules, other than their games that they're going to have in February against a MAC team to be determined. They should both win all of those. So we may be heading for this collision course on January 13th at the first time they play each other.
Yeah. Oh man, how much fun is that going to be?
That would be great.
Rest of the upcoming schedule for this week at least. Let's see here. App State, they have Gardner Webb this week, so don't
Should
overlook
win
this
that.
Gardner Webb team. They've knocked off a few teams already this year, so
Yeah,
They should win that one.
they've proven to be resume wreckers this year.
absolutely. Let's we normally just discuss independence, but let's jump over to mythical conferences first, then we'll jump back to our one independent here as we may have a little breaking news coming as we record the show here.
Yeah.
So let's jump over to mythical conferences first and start in the Beehive State. If I can get that up here. Here we go. The Beehive Conference saw the Utah beat BYU, Griggs, in the huge game. To now the Utes are 2-0 in clear control of the conference so far.
I think so, and it's just that was a huge setback for BYU not winning that game. Utah State still up there though.
Utah State and Utah Tech both undefeated, but
Yeah,
a huge big game coming up Saturday though. Utah's got
Utah.
another one. Utah
Yeah.
Valley coming into town.
Yeah, Utah playing quite a few Beehive teams after saying they didn't want to do it anymore for a little bit.
Okay, good for them for playing
Yeah.
teams. Well, we mentioned our Front Range earlier. Let's jump to the Front Range standings. Colorado State, who has played 3 Front Range games.
I think they're
Nobody
playing the
else-
full schedule this year.
Nobody else has
Yeah.
played a Front Range game other than 3 games involving Colorado State, but Colorado
Yeah.
State 3-0 in conference play. Congrats to them.
We've got-
Great start.
Nico Medvedev.
We've got Colorado and Northern Colorado. That might be an elimination game, Chad.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the loser of that one has no shot, I think, of winning this league this year. It's coming up Friday night. Huge game.
Yeah.
Huge game in the Front Range. How about the Back Range? These are teams from New Mexico, Arizona. We threw in UTEP there as well. They're a huge rival with some of those New Mexico schools.
Yeah.
And it is New Mexico and Grand Canyon. One of our featured teams for the evening is tied there at the tops, both above an undefeated Arizona team.
Yeah, and I think the winner of this league is going to get inside the bubble. That's my prediction.
Real
For
good
sure.
shot here. And we
Yeah.
mentioned round 2 of New Mexico State coming up Friday night. So New
And
Mexico can take
Arizona
control of the
stepping
conference.
out of conference, you kind of, is that kind of a distraction playing an out of conference game like that?
Yeah,
Does
they're
it
playing
distract
Purdue
them
out of conference.
from the back range, which they need to be focused on?
Yeah, really disappointed that they're going and playing Purdue. I don't know why anybody would want to watch that game.
Yeah.
Our
Well, a lot
newest-
of
Many
people won't
people-
get to. It's
No,
on
not many
TV.
people will see it.
Yeah.
Our newest conference going up north to the top range, where Washington State is at 2-0.
Wazoo. Yeah.
Yes.
Wins
Still haven't
over
had very many
Idaho. Yeah.
games played yet, but I think we do not have any coming up this week either. And we're going to get things rolling in the top range. I think the top range has more conference games than any other conference we've got
Yeah,
here.
I think it
But
does.
they're for some reason a lot of these games overlap with the Big Sky Conference regular season play. So I thought that's certain.
Yeah.
Let's
That's weird.
I want to go back 1 second. There's a score that just went final back in the Sun Belt. So I want to give a quick shout out here to another team to pay attention to in the Sun Belt. Arkansas State tonight won by 12 at Louisville.
They were up by 18. Is it discouraging to see them squander a lead like that against an inferior opponent?
Yeah, but I'll tell you what. Let's jump over to our top 10 list before as I'm trying to delay things here because I think we've got some breaking news. Let's do our top 10 list though. We're going out of
It
order
broke.
tonight.
It
Yeah.
broke.
Oh, that's it.
It's going final. It is going
It
final.
has.
Final. It broke.
Chicago State has gone to Northwestern and done what Purdue failed to do. They won at Northwestern. A program-defining win for Chicago State. Have they ever won a game like this?
Here it is.
Unbelievable.
It is can we get the final score there? It's not quite on the screen.
75-73
75.
on the road against a ranked team.
This is the greatest win in that I remember in
Program
Chicago State
history.
basketball history.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They are now 4-9 overall. They're coming off of a home loss to St. Thomas of all things of this past week. Let's pull up the Chicago State profile. You are going to add in a tier 1 victory here at Northwestern as soon as the scores update, which will probably still be another minute or two.
Yeah.
That's going to be an exciting bus ride home for 20 minutes.
Well, what a great moment for that. I mean,
That's cool. Very cool.
yeah, and we were kind of excited for them because we did think that they were growing their brand and improving as a program. They finally are a member of an AQ conference for the first time in how many years? Because you might remember when they were in the WAC.
Beginning next
WAC,
season,
yeah.
they're joining the Northeast Conference, and in celebration of joining the Northeast Conference, they pick up a win at Northwestern tonight. Wow.
That is
And we
That's
laugh and we joke around and stuff. But these kids work just as hard as the kids from any other school.
Oh, they
And
do.
it's
Yeah.
fun, it's fun to see these kids win and have success. And the coaching staff works their butt off all year long and does as much as any of the other big time schools do. So it's good for it's good for Chicago State,
Yeah.
these type of schools to get wins like that.
Yeah, and I kind of think that other conferences in their footprint, the Ohio Valley, maybe not the Missouri Valley, but the Horizon League, they had value. Chicago State definitely did. We talked about that in the preseason podcast. I wrote a little something about it when I previewed Chicago State. This program is making huge steps forward, and today is just a like one of those signature moments for them. I don't ever recall them going on the road and beating a ranked team or beating a ranked team, period.
Wesley Cardette Jr., 30 points, his best performance of this season,
Oh.
maybe a career best tonight at Northwestern. So, real shout out to this Chicago
Wow.
State team.
That's
Wow.
great. That is
Your cat,
phenomenal.
your
And
cat's
my
excited,
cat's
too.
even happy. Look at that.
Yeah.
She's right there meowing away, celebrating a Chicago State victory. They've got a busy week ahead with after this game. They are at Valpo, and then look at this Monday and Wednesday. They're hosting UTRGV and Bethune-Cookman. Notable
Yeah.
because those are their last two D1 home games of all season.
Yeah.
They've got a
and
few non-D1 games in February, but every other game after this against a D1 opponent will be on the road.
Yeah, and you kind of hate. Like, I hope the students and the fans can make it to that game after what
Those
they
two
did
games,
tonight.
yeah. I hope the students make it to the Valpo game. It's not that
Yeah.
far, is it?
Yeah,
It's not
not
far
that
at
far at
all.
all.
Yeah.
No, less than an hour.
Let's go to our Hoops HD under the radar top 10 list here. Three of us, along with our good friend John Salika, all voted. A lot less honorable mentions this week. First of all, we're reaching the point where we're, at the beginning of the season, we were all spread out. We were really
Yeah.
starting to consolidate around a smaller group of teams now. But a few teams that received votes that did not make our top 10 included UC Irvine, Long
Irvine,
Beach
yeah.
State, Fort Wayne, and Longwood got an honorable mention vote even.
Yeah,
Did not
wow.
make the top 10. But at number 10, it is McNeese State out of the
McNeese, okay,
Southland,
yeah.
Willie the
Wow.
Kid's team.
Yeah.
At number 9, Louisiana Tech. We talked about them in Conference USA.
Yeah. Real, kind of quiet, even by under the radar standards. They're a little under the radar, but man, they're good.
Number 8, we've got,
Yeah.
yes, we
They're
have
better
it.
than that. they're
No
really-
mirrors.
Only number 8. At number 7.
I'm so glad App State is good this year. Oh, it's so, like was used to be just a occasional Easter egg reference.
Liberty coming in at number 7 there. At number 6, we got UNC Greensboro out of the SoCon.
Yeah, real good. That we talked about them and their at-large chances with the win in
Strong.
Arkansas.
Wilmington, another UNC team
Yeah.
coming in at number 5 out of the Coastal. Number 4, we've got Drake.
Yeah, way up there. Just the one loss so far.
And
so,
Look
conference
at the
rival.
Valley.
The two Team Valley, they got 2 out of our top 4 with Indiana State and Drake both up there.
Yeah,
At number 2, it is
Grand Canyon. Okay,
Grand
not
Canyon.
Yeah, the
Yeah, which
Despite the
means-
big win, they could not quite overtake a team that suffered a loss and remains our number 1 team just barely. It was very, very close though, but Princeton Tigers do remain number 1 despite the loss and despite the Lopez big win, but
Yeah.
it was close. On that note, let's throw this down here. Run for any final thoughts. Dorman, go ahead.
It's a slow week, as we just saw in the schedule. But after this, once we get towards the end of the December and we go to flip the calendar to January, it's full blast ahead. And it is all cylinders running until March. And it's the greatest 3-month stretch in sports, I believe. It gets really exciting. A few out of conference games, but the conference games really, really heat up in January and February. And then we all know how great it is in March. So a little lapse in the schedule this week, but get your rest because we're getting ready to go.
Just for anybody that wants to see what a Chicago State profile with a Northwestern win looks like, there it is. You know,
Wow.
now it has populated on the screen.
Incredible.
There it is. 4-9 overall. They did win at Northwestern. I'm in shock. Griggs, you want to fish off the show though?
Well, I was going to talk about how this show was so popular and so inspirational that Arizona and Purdue decided to go under the radar themselves by not, by playing behind a paywall. But I just want to talk again. I mean, we talked about it already, but what a program-defining win for Chicago State. It happened tonight, live on the air, live on tape delay.
Live on tape delay. For all of you that watching that were trying to figure out what game you're supposed to go watch, that's when you're supposed to go watch.
Yeah.
But I guess on that note, I think we've done enough damage for one night. On behalf of David Griggs and David Dorman, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again next week. Regular schedule. Talk to you real soon.